On a night veiled by a moonless sky, Dr. Ethan Harrow stood alone in the control room of the Horizon Research Facility, a clandestine laboratory perched on the edge of the Nevada desert. His heart raced with a mix of anticipation and dread as he gazed at the massive collider housed deep within the bowels of the facility. Today, they were to initiate a groundbreaking experiment involving dark matter, an elusive substance thought to compose much of the universe's mass. Ethan, a physicist renowned for his brilliance and unorthodox methods, had dedicated the last decade to this project. His theories suggested that dark matter could be harnessed, potentially unlocking energy solutions that could revolutionize the world. But as the hour approached, Ethan's excitement was overshadowed by a gnawing fear of the unknown. The experiment begins. Initiating sequence in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The automated voice echoed through the room as Ethan initiated the collider. The machine roared to life, its hum growing into a deafening whir that resonated through the facility. Monitors flickered, displaying streams of data as the collider reached the operational threshold. Ethan watched intently as the core of the collider glowed with an eerie blue light, particles accelerating at unimaginable speeds. The air tingled with electricity, and for a moment, Ethan felt as if he was standing on the brink of a new era. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Alarms blared, red lights flashing across the control panel. Ethan's heart sank. "No, this can't be happening," he muttered, scanning the data frantically. The collider's magnetic containment fields fluctuated wildly, unable to stabilize the dark matter. The breach. In an instant, everything changed. There was a brilliant flash of light, blinding and pure, followed by an oppressive darkness that seemed to swallow the room whole. Ethan felt a chilling cold sweep over him, a cold that seeped into his bones. When his vision cleared, he was no longer in the control room but standing in a vast expanse of darkness. Panicked, Ethan tried to comprehend his surroundings. The collider, the facility, the desert. It all seemed to have vanished, replaced by an endless void. He realized then that something had gone terribly wrong. The experiment had not only failed, but had opened a rift, pulling him into an unknown dimension. The entity. As he tried to gather his thoughts, a voice echoed in the darkness, deep and resonant. "Who dares to disturb the slumber of the void?" The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, vibrating through the very essence of the space. Ethan stood frozen, his scientific curiosity wrestling with primal fear. I am Dr. Ethan Harrow. We were conducting an experiment with dark matter. I didn't mean to—" "Silence!" the voice boomed. Ethan fell silent, a sense of insignificance washing over him. Shadows began to coalesce in the darkness, forming a vague humanoid shape before him. The entity was an amalgam of everything and nothing, its form constantly shifting, evading comprehension. "You have opened a door that should have remained closed," the entity said, its tone a mix of curiosity and menace. "This realm is not meant for beings of your dimension." The warning. Ethan, mustering his courage, replied, "What is this place? What are you?" "This is the void between worlds, the gap in the fabric of your reality," the entity explained. "And I am a guardian of the threshold. You have trespassed into the realm of cosmic forces beyond your control." Ethan listened intently, the scientist in him fascinated despite the danger. "Is there a way to return, to fix the breach?" "Possibly," the entity pondered. "But know this, your actions have consequences that extend beyond your understanding. The darkness you sought to harness is unforgiving, and now it knows of your world." With those ominous words, the entity faded into the darkness, leaving Ethan alone in the void, his mind racing with questions and fears about what he had unleashed and how he might mend the breach before it was too late. As the void's silence enveloped him, Ethan knew one thing for certain. He needed to find a way back. Not just for himself, but for the world that lay unknowingly on the brink of a dark and unfathomable threat. Ethan Harrow found himself enveloped by an all-encompassing darkness that challenged his perception of time and space. As the entity's warnings echoed in his mind, a spark of resolve ignited within him. He began to understand that this void was not merely a physical space, but a realm of possibilities, shaped by thought and awareness. Drawing on his deep knowledge of physics and the unexpected properties of this dark dimension, Ethan focused his thoughts on the collider, the conduit through which he had arrived. He envisioned the machine's intricate design, the swirling particles, and the exact moment of the breach. Gradually, a faint glow materialized in the darkness, outlining what seemed to be a portal. The descent. As he approached the shimmering portal, Ethan felt the oppressive darkness push back, as if warning him not to proceed, but the stakes were too high for hesitation. With a deep breath, he stepped through the portal, and a rush of sensations flooded over him. Light, sound, and color burst forth, a stark contrast to the void's monochrome void. Ethan stumbled out onto the cold floor of the collider's control room. Alarms still screamed in the background, and the air was thick with the smell of ozone and burning electronics. He quickly silenced the alarms and assessed the damage. The collider was a mess of twisted metal and shattered components, but it was salvageable. The investigation. Before Ethan could begin repairs, he needed to understand how exactly the experiment had failed. He pulled up the data logs, scrolling through streams of complex equations and error messages. The problem seemed to originate from an instability in the dark matter itself, which had reacted unpredictably under the collider's influence. As he analyzed the data, a sense of urgency grew. The breach might have been temporarily stabilized by his return, but there was no telling how long it would hold. The entity's words haunted him. The darkness knows of your world. Ethan had to find a solution, and fast. The plan determined, Ethan set to work redesigning the collider's containment protocols. He integrated fail-safes and redundancies, drawing on every scrap of theoretical knowledge he possessed about dark matter and quantum mechanics. Hours turned into days as he labored, fueled by a mixture of fear and fascination. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Ethan prepared to test the revised collider. This time, he had implemented a remote activation sequence, allowing him to operate the collider from a fortified observation bunker a safe distance away. The test. With bated breath, Ethan initiated the collider once more. The hum of the machine rose, steady and controlled. Monitors displayed promising results as the new containment fields held stable, successfully harnessing the dark matter without incident. It was a breakthrough, but Ethan knew it was only the beginning. As he watched the successful containment, a new resolve formed within him. He had crossed into unknown territory and returned. Now he needed to explore this dark matter further, understand its properties, and ensure it could never pose a threat again. However, as he reviewed the data from the test, an anomaly caught his eye. A slight fluctuation in the dark matter's energy output. It was minor, almost insignificant, but to Ethan, it was a stark reminder that the entity's words were not just a warning, but a prophecy. In the following days, as Dr. Ethan Harrow delved deeper into his work, a subtle yet persistent sense of being watched crept over him. At first, he dismissed it as mere paranoia, a side effect of his harrowing experience in the void. However, as the days passed, the feeling intensified. Shadows seemed to linger longer in the corners of his eyes, and the normal sounds of the laboratory took on a sinister whisper. Determined to remain focused, Ethan continued refining the collider's systems. He introduced quantum algorithms designed to predict and stabilize fluctuations in the dark matter. Yet despite his advancements, the eerie sense that something was amiss grew stronger. A breakthrough and a breach. 1. Late evening, while reviewing the collider's latest data streams, Ethan stumbled upon an anomaly that defied explanation, a pattern in the dark matter fluctuations that seemed almost intentional. As he decoded the patterns, a chilling realization dawned on him. The dark matter was not just an inert substance. It was responding to his experiments, almost learning from them. Before he could process this revelation, the facility's security alarms blared. Ethan rushed to the surveillance feeds, and his heart sank. The cameras showed figures moving outside the facility, their forms blurred and indistinct, merging with the shadows. Ethan knew immediately that these were not ordinary intruders. The void had sent its own agents. The encounter. Grabbing a flashlight, Ethan cautiously made his way to the main entrance. As he opened the door, the cold desert night greeted him, and the figures from the cameras were nowhere to be seen. But the air was electric, charged with a palpable tension. Then, from the darkness, a voice echoed, the same resonant tone he had heard in the void. "You cannot contain what you do not comprehend," the voice intoned, as the shadows seemed to coalesce into a more solid form before him. The entity, or one of its kind, stood there, its outline flickering like a poorly tuned television. Ethan, though frightened, found his voice. "What do you want from us?" "Your experiment has consequences that extend beyond your world," the shadowy figure replied. "You have attracted the attention of those who dwell in the darkness. We watch, we wait, and we learn." The ultimatum. The entity moved closer, and Ethan felt the temperature drop, the air thickening around him. "You must stop your research," it demanded, "or face the consequences that will follow. The void has been disturbed, and its inhabitants are restless." Ethan knew he was standing at a precipice. Stopping now could mean the end of his life's work and the potential benefits it could bring to humanity. Yet continuing might invite dangers he couldn't even begin to understand, much less control. A decision made. The entity faded back into the darkness, leaving Ethan alone under the stars, his mind racing. After a long moment of contemplation, he made his decision. He would not stop his research. The potential benefits were too great, and the threat too vague. But he would take precautions, delve deeper into the mysteries of the dark matter, and prepare for whatever might come. Ethan returned to the lab, his resolve hardened. He would continue his work, but with a new focus, not just to harness the dark matter, but to understand the entities it hid, and to protect his world from the unseen dangers lurking within the void. As he sat back down at his workstation, the screens flickering to life around him, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that he was now part of a much larger, much more dangerous game. The shadows gathered, the watchers observed, and the line between scientist and sentinel blurred. In the wake of his confrontation with the entity from the void, Dr. Ethan Harrow knew he couldn't face the coming challenges alone. The next morning, he reached out to colleagues from around the globe, experts in physics, quantum mechanics, and even mythology and paranormal research. He shared his experiences, the data from the collider, and the encounters with the entities. Despite their initial skepticism, the gravity of Ethan's data and the urgency in his voice convinced them of the seriousness of the situation. A task force was quickly formed, an eclectic group dedicated to understanding and countering the threats posed by the void and its denizens. The Gathering of Minds. Within a week, experts from diverse fields congregated at the Horizon Research Facility. The atmosphere was one of cautious curiosity mixed with a tangible tension. Ethan led the first meeting, outlining the events and presenting the shadowy threats in vivid detail. The group agreed on a dual approach: stabilize the collider to prevent further incursions and delve deeper into the theoretical underpinnings of dark matter and interdimensional spaces. Dr. Fiona Miles, a theoretical physicist specializing in particle physics, proposed a novel theory. What if the dark matter isn't just a bridge but a sentient gateway? What if it reacts not just to physical stimuli, but to consciousness itself? Her theory sparked intense debate and opened new avenues for research. The preparation. As the team delved into their work, the facility was upgraded with advanced surveillance and defensive measures. Ethan, remembering the chilling effect of the entity's presence, worked with engineers to develop environmental controls that could counteract the cold and density changes brought by the entities. Meanwhile, Dr. Hiro Tanaka, an expert in quantum computing, began adapting the collider's systems to not only stabilize the dark matter, but also to potentially communicate with it, or whatever intelligence might be influencing it. If these entities are using dark matter as a medium, perhaps we can too, Hiro suggested. The breakthrough weeks of intense work led to a breakthrough. The team managed to stabilize a small amount of dark matter within the collider, isolating it from the rest of the system. This allowed them to conduct controlled experiments without the risk of another breach. During one such experiment, they detected structured patterns in the dark matter's fluctuations, patterns that seemed almost like a response to their actions. "It's like tapping Morse code into the cosmos," Fiona observed, her voice a mix of wonder and wariness. The warning returns. As progress was made, Ethan received a new message, but this time not through an ominous encounter. The facility's sensors picked up a distortion, a subtle but clear signal that formed words in their data logs. "Cease your actions." The warning was stark, reminding them all of the stakes involved. The entities were watching, and they were not pleased. The resolve. Despite the warning, the team's resolve only strengthened. Ethan knew they were on the cusp of a major discovery, one that could change humanity's understanding of the universe. "We must continue," he declared to the team. "Our approach is cautious, but we must seek knowledge. Only through understanding can we hope to protect our world." The Horizon Research Facility had become a fortress of science, buzzing with the energy of anticipation and the hum of high-powered technology. As Dr. Ethan Harrow and his team pressed forward with their experiments, the outside world seemed almost distant, a mere backdrop to their monumental endeavors. However, the threat lurking in the shadows was never far from their minds, a constant reminder of the delicate balance they were attempting to maintain. The enhanced collider Ethan and Dr. Hiro Tanaka had worked tirelessly to integrate a new communication protocol into the collider's operations, based on the structured patterns they had observed in the dark matter. This protocol was designed to probe the dark matter more deeply, perhaps even to establish some form of dialogue with the entities on the other side of the void. The day came to test this new system. The team gathered around the control station, monitoring every parameter with bated breath. As the collider activated, the air around them vibrated with unseen energies, and the monitors began to display a symphony of data. The response seconds turned into minutes as the collider reached the communication threshold. Then, abruptly, the patterns in the data changed. A coherent response seemed to emerge, rhythmic and cyclic, like the beating of a cosmic heart. "It's responding!" Fiona exclaimed, her voice a mixture of excitement and fear. The team worked feverishly to analyze the response, translating the patterns into something comprehensible. The message was cryptic, fragments of thoughts conveyed through the quantum fluctuations. Boundary crossed, understanding sought balance necessary. The plan. This message sparked a new theory within the group. "Perhaps these entities see us as a threat to their existence, or to the balance of their dimension," Ethan speculated. "If we can assure them of our intentions, maybe we can establish some form of truce." The team decided to send a message back through the collider, using the same patterned fluctuations. They crafted a message of peace and inquiry, emphasizing their desire to understand and respect the boundaries between their worlds. The unexpected ally. As they sent the message, the collider's core illuminated with a brilliant, pulsating light. The response was immediate and intense, far stronger than any previous communication. This time, the message was clearer, and with it came a vision that flooded the team's minds. They saw the void not as a place of darkness, but as a realm of vibrant energies and entities existing in a delicate balance. Among them was a new entity, different from the others, its presence less threatening and more curious. "This entity seems different. It might be willing to help us," Hiro noted, watching the visions with awe. The Alliance. Over the following days, this new entity communicated more directly with the team, guiding their experiments and offering insights into the void's nature. It described the void not as a realm of conquest, but as a connected universe, where actions in one part could affect the whole. With this entity's guidance, the team developed a method to stabilize the void's breaches permanently. It required precise manipulation of both dark matter and the collider's energy outputs, but with the entity's assistance, they were successful. The New Dawn. As the final adjustments were made and the collider hummed to life for what they hoped would be the last necessary time, Ethan felt a sense of accomplishment and apprehension. The entity had warned them of others in the void who would not be pleased by this stabilization, who thrived on the chaos of breached boundaries. Yet, as the collider stabilized the breach and the void's energies calmed, a new era of understanding seemed to dawn. The entities retreated, and the new ally faded with a final message of thanks and caution.